What's up, everybody? Welcome to Value Town, episode 169. I'm ChanManV, and we are doing a duo, not Q. What do we call this? Duo show, I guess, for the first time with me and Gaara.
The best two on.
You excited? The best two. We cut the fat, right? Like we just like.
I'm wearing a special shirt.
What does it say?
For this.
Go face. Okay. Nice.
We will talk about this more later.
Oh, okay. All right. Go face. I like it, man. I like that shirt. What's it say behind it? There's like words behind it. Draw something. It says draw. No. I mean underneath the go face says something like draw. Draw cards or something. Oh my god. You'd be better off just letting me look at it and read it.
Oh, can you read it?
It says draw something clears something. Draw cards clear board probably, or I don't know, something like that. That's cool though.
Oh, clear trade.
Clear trade. All right.
Go face.
I'm assuming you got that this weekend in tours.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Well, everybody, welcome.
This is more related to the new meta, by the way.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right.
I think so.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Right. Well, everybody, welcome to Value Town. If you guys aren't familiar with us, we are a Hearthstone podcast that we do weekly, and we just discuss everything that's going on in Hearthstone, the meta, the news, any kind of crazy stuff going on. But we are a Hearthstone replay show and our Hearthstone HSReplay.net show. Jeez, I don't know why I said Hearthstone replay. But today we've got a lot of stuff to talk about with the release of the balance patch that happened yesterday. And I don't know, the meta's been pretty much turned upside down, which is pretty awesome given that it had settled after this month since the release and really needed this. So we definitely talked about the balance patches the last week, and I think we're starting to finally see what the what the fruits of that are, at least for Blizzard. So we got some stats, definitely going to be, queried some stuff, got some power rankings. We'll be doing that for sure. And then Gaara's coming back from some events, right? So 2 events. Really? 2?
No, it was like peace.
Yeah, it was just peace. Oh, God.
I'm traveling.
Oh, my gosh. All right.
24 hours traveling.
Yeah, I've been hearing some crazy travels. Like RDE
and my
just
flight
told me.
is only 1 hour.
I know. You live like an hour away, which is crazy in
I
tours.
my car, I would have been twice as fast.
Yeah. So why don't we just talk about, our week in Hearthstone. So what have you been up to? Obviously, you've been at tours, right? At Dreamhack Tours in France. And
yes.
I guess we should just start with that. How was that experience? And fun.
If I look at the entire week and considering that I started traveling at Friday, that's pretty much all I did since the last episode.
Oh my God.
I mean, right? I just arrived yesterday at midnight back home, and today is the show. And I left last week. And we had deck submission, I think, last Tuesday.
Right.
So I was basically just focusing on that tournament for a week.
Yeah, I remember you were playing a ton of games just to get your lineups or whatever.
Oh yeah, I was playing so much and I was so happy. It was kind of like a wake-up call in a way as well, in how much you actually have to invest to be competitive or be one of the best. Like I ended up with a 6-3 score.
I mean, that's not bad. That's probably right on the bubble, right?
Yeah, you needed 7-2 to advance to top 16.
Okay.
And I had my tiebreaker was also not good enough for top 32, because top 32 gave you 4 points, which is quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, that's actually.
So that's kind of sad, but it wasn't because of my score. The way how it works is it depends on how the people did that you lost to. And I lost to Green Sheep in the first round. It was like the very first game on stream.
Is rough, yeah.
And he lost 3 games afterwards.
Oh,
so
that
brutal. Sucked for my tiebreaker.
So that was a bad loss.
Almost every game I won 3-0, but it didn't matter because my opponents did really bad.
Yeah.
So that screwed my tiebreaker. So I don't know if that is the most optimal way to, decide on
that's
tiebreakers. But
that's the nature of the Swiss, right? Like if
it's Smash Brothers they complain about it because it's not in your hands, right? It depends on how good your opponents do. It's sucks if it's not in your hands.
True, but it is in your hand from the standpoint of when you lose. So if you if you lose early, that's just bad, right? Like that, because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get a bad tiebreaker. You're going to be basically put into Swiss bottom bracket, at least for the first, like at least for the next couple rounds, right? So those are not as valuable wins, or even if you win the next two, as somebody who's just like kind of in the winner's bracket. So it's the nature of it. I mean, if we had a better system, we'd be using it. So I don't think there is a great
Yeah.
system right now, unless it's
Honestly,
just pure
I helped
random.
changing the system over the years though.
Mhm.
Like we had, for example, 9 Swiss rounds most of the time, and we never had clear cards. And I kept talking to the Swedish admins because they do most of the HCT events. And then
Mhm.
finally, like last year, they added a 10th round because they listened to reason, right?
Yeah.
I said because we don't have seeding in Hearthstone, we could have like Osaka, Sivka round one, and then whoever loses round one can basically has such a bad tiebreaker that you can afford only to lose one less time, right? You
Yeah.
basically lose twice if you lose first round. But also like about this event, like dude, I faced so many good players. I faced Green Sheep first round, right? I faced Glaza.
Oh
He's
man,
also one of
that's
the. I
brutal.
faced then Aka Wonder,
AK Wonder.
and
Okay. Yeah.
when I was basically out with 3 losses, I faced Crane, and it's
Well,
like
that means
first
Crane wasn't
round.
doing too well either then,
Yeah,
right?
but it's
So
like it doesn't stop. It was just so
no,
many good
it's
players too.
yeah, so many good players, and it's just like in the end, I mean, we didn't have. I mean, we had Maverick end up winning, which Maverick's been
Hmm.
obviously somebody that's had good showings in the past, but I don't. I think the general public still doesn't know who Maverick is. But overall, like we
And
didn't.
Jana as well did
Who?
very good,
Who?
and Scruffy as well. I mean, Scruffy got second.
Yeah. So definitely, it sounded like it was a tough tournament to be at. Those DreamHacks are just always all the Grand Prix DreamHacks are just very very competitive. It seemed to have the best players at it, and it just continues on, right? Even with tours. So, well, did you have fun at least? I mean, I
Right.
know
Okay, another thing is, man, it's like they always have so bad food at these venues. It's crazy. It's so
like
hard to get
pizza
good
and
food.
stuff or what?
There
Like,
were like 2 food stands. It
uh-huh.
was like really, really crappy food. Like everyone just
Oh.
hated it. But what can you do? We're like in the middle of nowhere, basically, right? Like in the middle of the desert, and we have like 2 really bad food stands. So it was a struggle to get good food for sure. And drinks in general, like we couldn't buy drinks. It was like one shop, and it
Really?
was really bad. Yeah, the
That's
venue itself
weird.
was really small,
Yeah.
but outside of the event, it was awesome. The city was actually not so bad.
Yeah.
Like people were
Where
down
is it?
talking the
Is it in
city.
South France or North France? Where is this?
It's like in the west,
In the
I would
West?
say.
Okay.
In the middle west, I would say.
Hmm.
Like 200 kilometers from Paris, and everyone like flew out to Paris and then by train, bus, car,
Oh,
whatever.
that's why. Okay, so that's why it took a few
Yeah.
hours to get
But
there.
the city was actually very nice. The hotels were nice, and you had plenty of things to do. The bars, the nightlife was great. Also, we had like a blast outside of the tournament. The
I'm sure.
tournament itself was not so bad. It was just the beginning, always the casual first round. I was the very first game,
Mhm.
and we had 4 games on stream before we continued round
Oh
two.
wow, that's a long time. That's like
So it
4 hours.
yes,
That's
around
crazy.
4 hours between round one and two, and it's like 6 rounds on day
How
one.
many? How many days was it? It's 2 days, right?
It's 3 days,
Three
like if
days.
you
Three
count
days.
top,
Okay. Okay.
top
Three
16
days.
on Monday.
Okay.
Or actually, only top 8 was on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, top
Yeah.
8 till finals. So
It's a
it's kind of bad split, right? And then on the first day, you play 12 hours. And it's so hard to play perfect for 12 hours with so much downtime.
yeah.
It's extremely hard. Obviously, everyone has the same problems, but it's like if you want to go with a very good mindset and do everything right, it's still so incredibly hard because
Yeah.
it's.
Well, they clearly had to fill 3 days. So I think if they would have just been blowing through first round, they couldn't fill 3 days of broadcast if they did, unless they literally showed every single one of the like top 16 or something like that to fill the last 2 days, right? I think that would
Yeah.
probably be possible because you can do the first round of the round of 16 on the one day, and then the rest of it
There was
the
also
final
no
day.
Wi-Fi there, which screwed
What?
up a lot of
Then
players,
what were y'all
by the
playing
way.
on? Y'all playing on computers or
I mean,
like what were y'all
whoever
playing on?
brought a laptop had a laptop, but a lot of people brought a tablet and a phone, and they had to use data and
Oh,
stuff.
okay. So
And it
they
was
had LAN plugs, but they had no Wi-Fi
no
for
Wi-Fi, yeah. And we had actually a bunch of global disconnects and stuff, and
ah. Oh, that's
yeah, it was at least sometimes the pause feature was very helpful because you could see that it was a change. Like we had
mhm.
not so many regames because of that,
That's
so
good.
that was great.
Yeah, that's great. I mean,
And I mean, I love the Swedish admins. I think they're the best. I'm so happy when they organize the
yeah,
tournaments.
we don't usually hear very many complaints about the DreamHack admins. They're usually spot on, you know. So that's good. They've been doing enough of them. I would expect that they would be. So it's good that
Yeah, they're
they're
doing a
living
really
up
great
to
job.
it. Yeah, yeah. That's I mean again, that's why when the Grand Prix, you know, the Grand Prix usually run fairly smooth. Obviously, this was more of a broadcasting schedule type of thing. You know, I'm guessing as to why it took so long, but cool. Sounds like you had fun though. I mean, that's
Oh yeah,
definitely
it's fun.
good. Have you gotten a chance to play any of the patches? I mean, obviously
Yeah,
today you played during stream, but
dude, today, yeah, today I was streaming for 8 hours, just no breaks. Went to bed, woke up, streamed,
nice,
played all day.
nice.
So I have a pretty good understanding of. I was I was so hyped because I was before the patch. I was playing so much Big Spell Mage. I was playing Big Spell Mage in
It's
the
like good
tournament,
now. Yeah, it's just good.
and you're like, okay, now it's actually good. It was my best performing deck in the tournament,
Yeah.
and it's really bad. And the reason for, man, people are playing super polarized decks. It's like people
Oh
don't
wait,
play
you're saying
control
it's
decks
bad
anymore.
right now, or are you saying it's good right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
unplayable, I would say.
Yep.
Because the
Okay.
control decks, every single control deck I faced was so greedy. It's like every priest deck is like playing Archbishop Quest Priest. I don't know who started it. Some streamer has started it for
Yeah,
sure.
it's got a decent percentage right now. The Quest one, I think it's got like
Yeah.
yeah,
And then the double
57%.
Deadman Sand Warrior,
Oh,
and then
that's
there's
got a good
Shadowshock
one.
Shaman.
There's a
You have no
lot.
chance against that. No chance.
There's a lot of stuff out there right now. I think that well, we're gonna look at the stats in just a second here, but no, it's been fun. Like I didn't get a chance to play a
Yeah.
ton of it until I mean I just haven't gotten a chance to play a ton of it. I started like late last night, played a few games and played a few games now, but I've definitely been keeping track of just you know our stats and seeing what the trends are. Um, and you know again we're gonna be talking about power rankings and class popularity and some of the top decks in a second here, but it's exciting though to see, you know, it's like it's great. I mean we literally flipped the rankings I think on its head, so like we see paladin and warlock at the bottom now that just could be just a knee-jerk reaction, right? Like just people just not playing it because it got changed. And then you see like you know shaman at the top and hunter claws at the top, and you know it's been definitely cool to see because they were in the basement like not too long ago. I mean even shaman was kind of sitting in that middle tier 2, tier 3, and kind of waiting for these nerfs to happen. But hunter was not close, not very close at all. Now spell hunter's obviously something cool, you know, it's something good now with all this crazy stuff going on. So of course this will settle down too, but you know, mission accomplished for a balance change, right? Like I think this is a good. Hopefully, this will be a good example of them changing something mid-season, and then having it kind of create another you know stage of freshness, you know, within this expansion. So I think that's been at least the coolest part for me. We'll see how long this lasts, but you know, I think that's kind of like the biggest news right now. So why don't we just kind of jump in? Why don't we talk about just some of the things I pulled up here, and we're doing it. This is the first time I've two-manned the show since like Noxious was here a year and a half. So we I didn't realize we didn't have like our normal view here, but this is actually works really well. That's what I got here. But anyways, power rankings, guys. We got this is what it kind of looks like right now. And as you can see, the top of it's 4 green arrows, and the bottom of it is 4 red arrows. So you can see that some of the top classes that we saw in the previous meta, pre-patch meta, warlock, paladin, priest, and you know mage probably somewhere in the middle there. They're like at the bottom now. They're not like crazy bottom. I mean we're talking about the span from number 1 to number 9 is like was it 3.1%. So it means pretty much everything is really very very close together. But this is the you know kind of power rankings win rates for average win rates for ranks legend to rank 4 in the first day of this meta. Any surprises here, dude? Like anything surprise? Shaman,
Absolutely.
Druid, Rogue. People listening. Shaman's first, Druid, then Rogue, Hunter, Warrior, Mage, Warlock, Paladin, Priest.
And I find this very cool because we were discussing. Okay, at tours, people had to submit decks for Titan League. This is like a big Chinese tournament. It's this weekend, post patch, and they had to submit decks before the nerfs. They had to predict the new meta. Basically,
that is brutal. Yeah.
And like it's so interesting to see, like listening to Orange, Muzzy, Fino, all the top players, what they think will be the best deck, right? And most of them expected Priest to be the best class.
I thought they thought Shaman was like. I saw Stan post something on Shaman. I saw somebody. No, I thought they thought Shaman.
They're like, oh, Mind Blast Priest must be the nuts.
Dude, it is the
right?
Right
all
now.
of them submitted Mind Blast Priest. They think that's the best deck, but then again, if you really think about it, like Warlock was one of the best matchups for Priest. I think that was the reason why Priest even emerged.
Right, exactly.
Queststroke, it was the counter to Warlock in a way. It wasn't that great versus aggressive decks.
No,
and like Control Warrior and stuff like that. And it's so fun to see that Priest is actually in the last place right now.
I think that's just temporary though. Like Priests have plenty of things that they could do to change direction. So
yeah, because Priest wasn't nerfed.
I know. Yeah. I mean, Priest wasn't nerfed, and it still has a lot of stuff. Like it, Mind Blast Priest just happened to be the iteration that it was good against Warlock. But they still have some people have been playing Quest Priest recently. They still have the combo. To be honest, they still have the Divine Spirit Inner Fire combo if they just build around it a bit more. So there's still plenty for Priest. I'm not worried about Priest. I think Priest will be at worst case like in the middle tiers or somewhere in there. I'm surprised that Shaman was. I mean, even Shaman was pretty good already. You know what I mean? And it was already, it was good as a mid-range deck already, and had, some similarities to the Even Paladin, except for, Even Paladin just has better cards at those slots. But still, it had the same kind of premise. Shaman obviously has the eel too. That's crazy great value in the very beginning, and I don't know. I kind of find it surprising that people didn't just at least knee jerk to Shaman right off the bat, like we're seeing right now.
I think a lot of people are focusing, or especially in Shaman, because even Shaman is the strongest deck in Wild for now quite a while. It's the strongest archetype.
Is it? I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely crazy with like Totem Golems and 4-mana 7/7s and Thing from Below and stuff. It's the best archetype. And then I think that's one of the reasons why people really like, everything else gets nerfed. Even Shaman, as you said, was already good. I think people are like focusing on that really, like specifically, not so much on what kind of Control Priest decks could we play or Druid decks. I think Druid is also extremely powerful. It's crazy to see that Druid is this popular already.
Well, it's because there were 3 Druids and we just got rid of one of them. There's still 2 solid Druids out there, and probably more too if we were to try to build more mid-range Druids. But Taunt Druids still exist. Token Druids obviously strong. We've seen Token Druids in events. Like a little bit spot starts kind of thing, and it's strong. We saw it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think Token Druid has a lot of potential, but it's like a deck that is probably not refined just because you can change so many cards in the list and stuff. Even Shaman, on the other hand, like all these like even and odd decks are like kind of pre-built in a way. Yes, you can exchange, but there's like a lot of core cards.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting. Like, it's crazy to see. I think even Shaman will definitely stay as one of the best decks post nerf, because it has actually. My last opponent in tours had even Shaman in the lineup, and I almost lost fatigue to it with Jaina Mage, and I had Jaina on 9, and I had Shadowwalk from Sindragosa. I had insane value just because of one combo: the 2-mana Murloc, the Echo Murloc, and Hagata.
Yep.
Those 2 cards alone give you infinite value. It's actually crazy.
Let's just go down and look at this deck. I was gonna wait. Let's just look at it. It's down here. It's one of the top 5 decks that we were gonna talk about in here. But since we're talking about it so much, let's just take a look at this version of it. This version of it has this is the top version of it that we have in our.
It doesn't even play the Murloc, or?
The which one? Oh yeah, the Totem. It doesn't even play
the Echo Murloc.
Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't play the Echo Murloc.
If you play one Echo Murloc, you have infinite value. It's actually crazy.
Why is it? Why does it have infinite value? I don't follow you.
Yeah, because you get so many spells. Eventually you get.
Oh, you mean in Hagatha? You just fill you fill your hand, right?
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
get also the spirit echoes at some point.
Oh.
And then you get
and then you get it
spirit
back in your
echoes,
hand, kind of thing.
yeah, and then you get
Oh,
the
you're
echo
doing that
murlocs
sort of
back.
thing.
You can play like infinite echo murlocs, and you get
Yeah, but
always a
that's
spell.
but you're giving
No,
up. It sounds cool though. It sounds really really
it is
cool.
very good. It
Yeah,
is
it
very
sounds really
powerful.
cool.
It's for one card slot. It's
Yeah.
not too bad.
Well, you have to
It's-
play Spirit Echo too. This doesn't play Spirit Echo.
No, you don't have to play. You get it randomly. You get it.
Oh, you're
eventually.
just saying getting it from Hagatha. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I
because
see.
you get so many spells. The deck has so many minions. Eventually,
I see.
you will get one, and then you have infinite value.
No,
It's
that's
so
interesting.
good.
Okay.
It's
This
crazy.
version isn't that one, but it's got like the Walk of Legends at the end though. Like it literally has almost every single Shaman legend in it, which
Pay to win.
that's kind of fun, man. Like I definitely can respect a deck that has that in it, even though most people can't afford it at all. But I like I like the fact that Earthen Might, is finally getting played in this, in a deck, which is obviously, or even Shaman's been, because I think it's been pretty solid. I like how Flametongue and Vicious Scalehide interact with each other too. And so there's like, it's funny because when I first was looking at this, the first versions of even Shaman had like even more, I think, random looking cards that just got thrown in there. I was thinking there's no way this lasts because it literally looks like it's pieced together, right, with a bunch of different crazy decks. But man, it's definitely evolved a little bit more and just refined a little bit more. But for the most part, it's still pretty solid. I think the Corpse Taker's one that, that element that people started to integrate, that led to Alakir, and just having Corpse Taker basically be fully buffed. That's been an interesting evolution of even Shaman, and that Corpse Taker is good. Once if you let her live a turn or you let her just do her thing for a turn, that thing is really really good and really good at keeping the Shaman alive going into like those power turns at turn 6 and above. So sometimes when I look at this deck, I still wonder how it wins. Like I'm just like, I know I've built decks like this in the past and it hasn't done well, but this thing, when you start playing it, you just realize there's like little nuances to it that really, are super important to the deck. Even just like I was saying, the minor heals from the Plated Beetle and the Vicious Scalehide and the Corpse Takers, like really are essential for you to be able to live long enough against the aggro decks. And there's not even that many aggro decks anymore. It's just like Odd Rogue and like, you see anything else? Like any face decks? Like,
I've faced actually quite a few high-ranked Baku hunters and tempo mages today.
oh really?
Around top 100 legend. I climbed to top 100 with Shadowwalk Shaman today, and so I faced quite a lot of. Shadowwalk Shaman is insane.
Yeah.
It feels like people counter queued me with certain decks like Odd Rogue, but they didn't counter me. So it really didn't feel like something can counter you. As Shadowwalk Shaman, it feels ridiculous.
Yeah, Odd Rogue's one of the top 5 decks. This is the top 5 decks, guys, by the way. Odd Rogue's down here. Yeah, Odd Rogue struggles against those taunts, like.
Yeah. And healing.
And healing too. But I don't know. It's still a pretty explosive deck. But if you get Serenite Chain Gain up and they don't have their weapon in place, or they're like off by like a half a turn, you know what I mean? Like it can be like brutal for them. So it's I think it doesn't really work out the way it's supposed to, because you're supposed to beat Shudderwalk with fast decks, right?
Yeah.
But it's not sturdy enough to do it. It's kind of interesting. I guess Tempo Mage still beats it, right?
It should beat it, I guess, but
Yeah.
you have a lot of taunts, you have a lot of clears, you have a lot of healing, but the newest version of Shadowwalk Shaman plays the curve though with Kalaseth. You hit the Kalaseth on 2 and the deck is insane. But you have like your Fireflies, you play curve, you're not just playing from behind. So I think the newest version of Shadowwalk is really, really powerful. I don't know. Like it gets everything.
It's getting scary, man. It's getting scary. Okay, let's talk about which classes are popular. So this is kind of like what everybody's playing. And just so people know, generally what happens with the meta or the trends of the meta, what happened, at least in the beginning of this expansion, in every expansion, is that you have a distinct difference between what's being played and what the rankings actually are, the win rates are. So right now we've got this right for the win rate, the win rates, and it usually doesn't match the class popularities, but as the meta settles, they end up matching each other exactly. Just because people end up wanting to win, or people generally just want to win, but they for sure they want to win after experimenting with stuff and losing a bunch. So right now we're in that stage where it's quite different. Like Shaman was number 1, if you remember seeing just a second ago, and Mage was kind of like number 6, I believe. Priest was last, and Priest was like number 4 right here and being played. So we're definitely seeing a bunch of Tempo Mage and Big Spell Mage, Rogues, bunch of Baku and Miracles like early on here. I'm not sure how good Miracle's okay. It's not terrible, but it's not one of the best for sure. And then Priest too. It's like Priest definitely doesn't have I would say crazy super good decks right now, at least from what I saw on the ladder. I saw some Quest ones doing okay. The Mind Blast ones are just so right now. So it's this ranking right here I think is the most interesting, because this is what people play to try to establish the meta on day 1. And it looked like people are trying to make Mage into the powerful deck, right? Like just they sensed that Mage would be it, and it doesn't seem to be it. So
yeah, it's like people love to play like phase decks if they can, and if you look at Tempo Mage, it used to be one of the strongest decks in the game before the patch, and a lot of the counters got nerfed, especially even Paladin, which was like the biggest counter to it. And so they're like, yo, Tempo Mage must be the best deck.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying. At the same time, probably a lot of people are trying Big Spell Mage. That's why the Mage popularity. It's like both of these archetypes.
There's more tempo though. There's a lot more tempo actually. If you add up the games, there's probably 3 to 1 in tempo.
It's just that, like, if you look at it, like Druid is very popular, and I think Druid lines up very well against Mage, the Taunt Druid and the Argo, or like the Token Druid. Just like it's very similar to even Paladin, but you have more mana cheat. You have better ways to get on the board.
Is the token one good against? Oh, I guess it is.
Yes. You have so much healing.
Yeah.
You have very good. Druid has one of the best single target removal in the game with like spell stones and whatnot, and refs. It's very good at controlling the board, and then you have a lot of healing. You have actually the most healing in the game as well.
Yeah,
so Druid
2 branching paths are huge, and then you have Malfurion too. So it's
and Oaken summons obviously on a Violet Teacher. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
it's really, really good.
That deck is so interesting. That token deck, that is so different than your traditional token Druid. Because it doesn't even care about the early game. Like the way it fights the early game isn't to actually put stuff down, and establish early game. It actually waits until mid game, and then it just floods the board and makes it impossible to clear it. And then just Savage Roars and branching.
And you can't ignore the board as well. And you still have like Spreading Plague and stuff.
Yeah,
which is insane.
Psychic Scream, that's why Priest is going to be back, man, with Psychic Screams and Master Spells. I don't know. Master Spells are really not even that great, to be honest, if you still have to remove the whole thing. But but Druid, I think Druid is popular and it's pretty good. So I don't think Druid is really one of those anomalies here. I think it's more like Mage, Shaman, Hunter is super low. It's like I think moving up the ranks at this point. Warriors.
I'm curious about Warrior.
Warrior's pretty low too. So
because there was quite a bit of hype around Warrior, also like from the other pro players for this Titan League. A lot of people think Control Warrior might be very good, just because Warlock got nerfed and that was like your worst matchup, and it was already pretty good against the aggressive decks, and it's good versus Priest because a lot of people expect the Priest to be very good. So, but as you can see, almost nobody plays Warrior.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't. You should. Maverick even did well with Warrior this past weekend, right? So
I think the secret deck will be Recruit Warrior. I think Recruit Warrior will be nuts.
Really? Which version of Recruit Warrior is this? So we're talking like Oakheart, or are we talking about the Rot Face
like
one?
What Fibonacci played.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it can beat everything. It's very good against the control decks that try to, Benedictus you or freaking Shadowwalk Shaman you because you have insane early game pressure. with your mana cheat minions. And I think it's very good against aggressive decks because you have a lot of armor gain and you have like Warpath and a bunch of board clears and stuff. And I think it's just a very powerful deck right now because the worst matchup was Q Block, and that's not a deck right now. And yeah, and it was pretty weak against Spiteful decks, I would say, and those are also don't seem to be so powerful right now. So I think it's just very powerful.
It feels like all the good control decks are they pretty much look the same, except for they have different ways of deriving value at the end. You know, some of them are hero powers that derive a crazy amount of power, you know, a value at the end. Some of them are cards that just infinitely regenerate themselves.
Yeah, the mirrors are really bad.
Yeah,
like, Benedictus mirror is. What do you do? It's like
it's
always
long.
goes to a draw.
It's just super long. No, it's not gonna go to draw. Somebody's gonna lose. What do you mean?
No, it goes to draw. Like after 60 turns or whatever. I saw it on Twitter. It always goes to draw. You can't.
Does it really? Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
it always
that.
goes to draw because you have infinite healing. They copy the Amara, so you always have 40 HP, and you can't kill your opponent. Like you both play Psychic Scream, so you Psychic Scream each other. You redraw the minions. You have infinite removal. You take you can't kill your opponent. It's not possible. It's the same with Deadman Sand Warrior. Like the current Deadman Sand Warrior, not the Recruit Warrior, just Deadman Sand Warrior. They have no pressure. They just have clears and infinite clears, basically. So if you play Deadman Sand Warrior Mirror, it's now always draw.
That's a good point. I never thought about that. That's true.
It's so bad. Imagine we have like now an HCT 2-stop and you cast a game for 2 hours and you know it will be a draw. Like what do? Is there like a judge gonna come in and says, okay, you guys can stop?
Before you even start,
you know it will be
a draw. Like, don't even play this one, guys.
like, you cast this game for 2 hours and you know it's gonna be a draw.
That's bad, actually. That's not good. That's not good if you can have decks that literally live by regenerating cards and just have removal, because there's not even minions. There's not even actual value cards, you know, to value minions.
They don't play any minions, only card draw.
That's not good.
Like a Shadowshock Shaman Mirror is okay because someone will die.
Yeah, right.
For instance.
Yeah. It's important to have an end. Like,
yes,
just in a game, any kind of game, it's important to have a definitive end to it. Draws are one of the worst things that can happen. I remember in Overwatch, when we had all those draws because of the format, you know, and even just some of the maps and how they were designed, and that was terrible, like, for that game. So
Draw Skya.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, anyways, this is kind of the breakdown. It'll be interesting to see, you know, next week what this looks like. I think it will slowly, like, my guess is that Hunter will make its way up to like 5 or 6. Shaman will make its way up to 2 or 3, and we'll see Priests start dropping down, and probably maybe
Paladin might drop even more.
Oh, Paladin and Warlock I think will go even further down. I don't think Warlock is
I don't know, man.
I was
talking to others, and I was like, could it be possible the Warlock is bad now? Like, there's no way. There's like no way. It's just
there's no way.
There's just no way.
There's no way.
There's just
no way. You know, like freaking Aretha Franklin here. No, there ain't no way. That's what it is. But
there ain't no way.
There's so much removal. It's just you just have to figure out what the value play is at the end. That's not just Rin. You know, there's got to be something else that you can play. You just have to match greed too, and to see it. Like Azalina, you know, is a possibility, and you know, like seriously a possibility of, you know, deriving that kind of value at the end of the game. There's no classes that have a better removal package than Warlock. So the fact that they have that, they just have to figure out that other side of the equation. No matter, you know, if they nerf the Dark Pack or whatever. I mean, they still have the ability
to Warlock. I'll bring it.
Dude, we did that. What do you mean? That was. Speaking of which, speaking of which, deck of the week, dude, easily our most successful deck of the week. Everybody loved that deck, even if they were losing.
Know.
Dude, our win percentage with it, I mean, it kind of got affected by the box line had a terrible win percentage, and it ended up like 38%, even though mine was like 47%, 48%. But nobody complained about it. They were like, "Oh my god, this is so much fun!" Literally, we had the most good feedback we've ever had on Deck of the Week. So it was a really cool deck. I mean, because it had enough elements of Control Warlock that it was still good against some of those matchups, right? Like the matchups that Control Warlock's good against, like it still was good. You know, even in getting rid of those 5 cards.
And it
whatever
feels
the
very
other-
different
Yeah.
to Rin or
It's hard to play too. Like the more you played it, and like the more you were just giving up games, you kind of realized, oh man, it's actually, there's a skill cap to this.
Another
pretty high
very
skill
cool
cap to it.
thing, what I noticed about the deck is the games are not so fast. Like if you play, that is actually probably what makes Hearthstone more boring right now. Like when you play a lot of these control mirrors, they take forever.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to just play like 1 hour games back to back to back, even if you like control. And that deck, like if you get the Hammett, the games finish so fast, and it's a fatigue deck. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean the Hammett forces it to finish, right? Like, I mean, there's some games you don't play Hammett, right? You don't. Like, one thing I learned after losing like 5 games I shouldn't have lost is you should not play Hammett against aggro. You should draw all those good removal cards that you're supposed to get against aggro decks. But yeah, Hammett does force at least an end, which is nice. The best is when like your opponent just sits there and you can tell he's just shaking his head once he realizes what you just did to him. Like once he gets his coin or ransom and he's wondering whether to play it or not, and then he just plays it, and then he realizes, oh, you have one. And
I like when they start emoting when
there's like this pause.
It's pretty. They're like, oh, nice, well played. Exactly. Draw more. Yeah. Exactly. Hammett. Oh, yeah. Fatigue.
Oh man, it's so fun. Anyways, yeah, check that out, guys. If you haven't seen it, you can go to patreon.com/valuetown, and it's one of the deck of the weeks there. Okay, well, let's just, I guess, finish out just some of the top decks. So the top deck we saw was Token Druid. I have the percentages down here. So Token Druid was 61.7%, Spell Hunter almost 59%, even Shamans 57.5, Odd 57.2, and then Big Spell 56.8. So we talked about the Druid a little bit. You can kind of see all what we were talking about. Just it's like tons of heals, good, pretty decent removal in the beginning. And then you have this like huge turns, like on turn 6 and turn, 7 around there. Like, because what you end up doing is you end up doing Whispering Woods into Soul Force type of plays, or Whispering Woods into not Arcane Tyrants, but usually just those 2 things, I guess. Whispering Woods into Soul of the Forest, and then you basically have this board that can't be removed completely. And then it usually leads into some crazy Savage Roar branching paths, subsequent turns. The best is when you play Spreading Plague, when they've gone super wide and they can't destroy it, and then you kill them on the following turn with your own combo. Oh, that's the most gratifying way to win.
that happened to me yesterday.
Yeah, that is the most heartbreaking.
Like you play Shadowbox Shaman, and then how do you kill it? How do you kill like 60 health board?
Right. I mean, yeah, Shaman has no way of killing a bunch of stuff with a bunch of health.
No more debuff, nothing.
Yeah. I mean, you have to do 35 Volcano for 35.
2 volcanoes. No.
Right. No, but it's cool. It's a different form of token. I don't think it's like, do you think there's a super high skill cap to this deck? I mean, I feel like it has less of a skill cap than the old one.
It's so funny because I played against Crane in Tours and he played that deck. And he told me after the match when he lost, he just didn't know what to do. Right. It was so funny. He has like 10 cards in hand and he said he just didn't know what to do.
That's funny.
So I guess there has to be, I mean, you have crazy setups, right?
Right.
You can bait people into like you can do insane, like if you remember Dog, the face he made when he lost to Mazi when he died
dude,
in the playoffs.
That was crazy. Yeah.
You can do a lot of damage out of nowhere.
That's what I'm talking about. You go from defense to offense instantly, and that's not very common, right? Like that can only happen. It used to happen with Bloodlust at times too, but even Bloodlust I felt like was a setup. You just knew it was coming. This it feels out of nowhere. Once you've played against the deck a bunch, you understand. Yeah, it's a lot too. Because you can Savage Roar twice and Branching Paths, which ends up being +5 to each of your minions, and the +4 to your hero too. So it's insane. Yeah, I remember Dog dying after he didn't clear that one minion.
Or something.
Yeah. He had like 43 health or something too. He had a ton of health, and that was funny. That was a good one.
Like the last thing he expected is to die.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you were like, oh,
yeah.
is he gonna make a big comeback or anything? And then you're just dead. You're like, okay.
That's good stuff. Yeah, Arcane Tyrant's pretty great too. Like that card I always appreciate more and more. When I play it more and more in the few decks I've played it in. It's actually a lot stronger than I thought. Like even just playing a 4/4, for free, is alongside whatever is pretty darn nice.
I think this is still like low-key one of the most underrated win conditions in Hearthstone.
Which
just
one?
tempo.
Yeah, just normal
Having
tempo. Yeah, just
having tempo at any point of the game and just kill your opponent with like 2 minions or something, just because you can't remove.
Well, you
them.
mean normal tempo, meaning like normal pace tempo, like just stay ahead of your opponent by half a turn, and just you hitting face, not trading kind of tempo, right? Yeah.
It's like happened to me today. They go Nourish, have 2 Arcane Tyrants on board. You can't kill them, and you just lose to the 2 Tyrants.
Right.
It's kind of like so anticlimactic. It's like I couldn't kill them, and you just die to them.
It adds up, man. It totally adds up. Especially when you plague and you play a Tyrant. That Tyrant's gonna get 4 to 8 damage. Like it's pretty hard to get through those spreading plagues. All right, and then we got the Hunter here, right? With the Spell Hunter. This one hasn't changed too much. I mean, this one pretty much looks like what Spell Hunters look like the last month or so. And we're talking post Barnes and Yasharaj. What people were still playing it because it was decent. It was still okay. Now I think it's just much better because you don't have as many aggro decks. So the aggro deck was what killed it, right? Like it's just too many cards that had minions that were over 2 health, and just freezing trap. The traps were just like clunky to fight.
No, Hunter was great versus aggro.
Really? I thought it was more clunky.
It was bad against every Warlock. It was like 0% after Barnes rotated. It was 0% against Warlock.
Okay.
And that was really bad. And it lost to even Paladin. And having even Paladin and Warlock as your counter is not good because they're the 2 most popular classes in the game. But it was really good against everything else. And it was not even that bad versus Paladin. It's just that Call to Arms came before Spellstone, and Spellstone is your main condition.
That was huge. That was.
But it was really good against everything else. And now with Warlock being gone and Paladin being nerfed, Hunter is really powerful. So I'm not surprised at all to see like Hunter is one of the best. I played today Hunter till like top 100, and then I switched to Shutterstock Shaman.
Yeah, I mean,
you could beat everything. It's just powerful.
The traps are much more effective. Like when you can dictate the traps versus just playing it out of desperation, like having to play explosive trap or wandering monster is probably just a good play whenever you play it. But like, I think now it's just like it establishes more tempo for you, so you can get to the Spellstone very, very nicely too. I mean, it builds the Spellstone too. But like you said, that Spellstone is the big play, right, in this deck, and being able to get there pretty clean is just like a win for you as Hunter.
I think now you also notice how much more powerful Rexar is.
Oh, Rexar's always been. I mean, there was no issue. There was no question that the late game Hunter has been there, and especially when they added like Tracker and they added Dire Grizzly, right? Is that right? Dire Grizzly, the buff, right? Dire Frenzy that you put the copies into your deck. The late game Hunter's been there. It's been strong. It's just a matter of like how to stay alive, or at least at the meta to not have these crazy strong early game type of decks, or these very robust decks early game that can just kill the Hunter. So right now we're in that phase. I mean, how does even Shaman does pretty decent against this though, right? Like even Shaman, I feel like has the same qualities as even Paladin against it. Doesn't have a huge turn forward.
The removal of Hunter doesn't line up very well against Shaman.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
It's the 3 health again. The 3 health is really good against Hunter.
Yes, yeah. They play Serena chain gangs, and they play like just a bunch of stuff. You don't have great ways to deal with wide boards as Paladin, as Hunter. You're very good at single target removal, but very bad at like removing a bunch of tokens and a bunch of minions and whatnot.
Yeah,
and Shaman has like Hagata and stuff, and after that they can really stabilize.
Yeah, but the if you can get to the late game, a Hunter versus Shaman in the late game, I mean, it doesn't.
Shaman wins.
I mean, if
from
it's
what I've
even,
seen.
really, like I think that it would
Yeah,
be close. I mean, I think early, late game, Shaman is definitely favored. But the
because
longer you go, the more value you get from Rexar, the better stuff you'll eventually get on average, right?
yeah,
That's
but
better than
Shaman gets a bunch of
Agatha.
removal spells at the same time, and they get a board with a bunch of stuff. Hunter is very bad at removing a bunch of stuff. Very good at removing one thing. And Shaman doesn't play in a way of I play one thing. They're gonna get a bunch of cheap removal spells, and they will flood the board with garbage. As soon as there's like, okay, what happened to me today is they play Sinnoh Chain Gang and got like Spirit Wolves from Hagata. Then you have 4 minions with 3 health on board, and Hunter, okay, even with Rexa, what do? Like you play one big guy, and then they go hex whatever, just out
Yeah.
tempo you. As I said, tempo is like you get tempo once, and then you just kill the
Yeah, but if
opponent.
I don't know, I think it just depends on what you roll from Rexar too. I mean, you're getting rush minions and you're getting sick things
But you
from
pay two
Rexar.
mana. Okay, you pay 2 mana though
Yeah,
to make the minion. That's
sure.
like 2 mana tempo loss, and Shaman doesn't pay mana for getting spells. That's a huge difference in this
Oh,
matchup.
that's a good point. Yeah, that's true. But it is just spells in the end. Like if they don't get
Yeah,
Feral Spirits, they're not getting minions. They're just
that's
getting
true.
spells. So I think that in the long game, Hunter does have the better hero power. Or it does have the better value mechanism because it just always gets a minion. Like it never has to worry about that. So it's
Yeah, it's like
interesting.
because
It's kind of
I played
cool.
the matchup a bunch today. It's the
Yeah,
how the tempo aligns because the
yeah,
shaman you get the shaman spells for free, and usually the overload spells give you like tempo as well on top of it. And
Mhm.
Hunter always feels like you're playing from behind tempo
Yeah,
wise.
that's for sure.
It's very hard
Yeah.
to swing. It's very difficult.
Yeah. Well, even just like the Dire Wolf play or Earth and Might
Yeah, yeah.
on,
A
like
totem
on just
above totem
whatever.
with
Yeah,
totemic mind
exactly.
that you got from Agatha.
Exactly. It's tough to do anything about. You're freezing trapping it. It's like, oh, that feels bad. Feels real
Yeah.
bad.
Oh yeah, freezing trap
So
useless. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like
totally
it's,
useless. Yeah.
it's
Well, it's not
tough.
useless. It's just it never gets great value. Like
Yeah.
yeah. But
It's,
anyways,
it's
these are the decks. Definitely try them out. You can go to HS Replay right now, and you can go to our article section. I just posted this in our article section, and all the deck codes are here. As you can see down there. And yeah, just copy them, check it out. But yeah, pretty exciting right now, man. This is definitely the favorite part of just the time, right? Just when things first are feeling fresh again, and when people are playing all kinds of things. I wonder if there's a deck right now. I haven't really spotted one that's just hasn't been in that mid tier, tier 3, that's just been basically waiting for an opportunity to kind of like come up, which most of these decks that we're talking about, they've been around. Like these aren't like brand new. They've actually been around and just been waiting for the right moment. But I'm wondering if there's another deck that's being brewed right now that is just completely new, like Azulina Warlock, like that type of thing.
I have a few guesses.
What do you think?
I think Rush Warrior has potential
Okay, there you go. That's something.
because it was decent when you built the first Rush Warrior. It was decent deck. It's just the
Yeah.
power level was not, on the
Right.
it felt similar to Even Shaman, and I think that if Even Shaman is kind of like the meta right now, I feel like Rush Warrior could line up very well because it will have like these minions that trade really well with Shaman, and Shaman has really bad ways to come back on the board. So if you have like a mid-range tempo
Yeah,
deck
that's a good
that's
point.
very good at getting the board, that it's probably also good versus Hunter, and probably even against the super greedy control decks. So I can see Rush Warrior being a thing.
Yeah.
Another thing is that I heard from Impact is that didn't it sounded very stupid in the beginning, but the more you think about it, makes sense. Is even Rogue. I would be super excited to see some even
Even
Rogue.
Rogue.
Yeah, you have the Dagon one, and then you have Bloodsail Raider on two, and a 2 mana
Yeah.
3/3 seems extremely powerful.
Man,
It's like the strongest
3.
2-drop in the game. And you have still like all the miracle cards, like you have still Auctioneer, the Minstrel, all the removal. You have the Backstab,
Well, you
Service.
lose
The
Hench
only
Clan though. That sucks.
yeah, you lose the free drops and Wildspine Slayer, but you have pretty much everything else. So it
Well,
doesn't
I don't know
sound
why I'm showing Odd Rogue because nothing here would be in the deck. So,
yeah.
actually, I wasn't showing it. I was like looking at it myself. But yeah, I mean I guess that's a good point.
Next deck of the
I'd have
week
to
will
look
be
at it.
even
It's hard
Rogue.
for me to envision even Rogue right now, just because I can see Eviscerate, but the rest of them, it's a little bit harder to see. The 3 spot for Rogue is the magical spot. Like they have so many high value. It's like Rogue and Hunter have those high value cards at 3. So it'd be pretty amazing if they could build a great even deck there. But the Warrior, your point about the Warrior, I think is a good one. Yeah, Warrior has so many ways to remove too. Even if it's like a hybrid type of deck, like you could kind of mix and match some things there and still have that crazy value. They have the infinite value option at the end. It's like that just takes 2 cards. Like you can just always have it just by adding 2 cards. So it's Warriors. I don't love the options they have, to be honest. But it is good enough to be viable. Oh, somebody mentioned Torix actually says that he thinks that Tempo Druid might be good, which is another Druid that we didn't really cover too much. Muzzy had that Tempo Druid, right, at one point that I think he got rank 1 or he got super high with it maybe early season, like the very, very beginning of the season. And I played a lot of that deck. That deck was good. That deck felt like it didn't look exactly like it, but it did feel a little bit like old school mid-range Druid with a combo at the end. So I think that's an interesting one. It's not like token, like this token Druid, but it has a lot of the same cards as this token Druid. And it, it doesn't have this whispering. It doesn't have the combo, the whispering combo, but it has other cards in place of it that are just really sticky, like Druid the Claw and cards like that. Yeah, and it's basically what you were saying, like that kind of tempo. It's just like chip them away each turn, and then you just get them down to like 12 or 14. You can finish easily with just like 2 Savage Roars on anything. You pretty much win. So yeah, maybe that's good too. Lots of good stuff, man. Just try it out. I think the only class we haven't talked about is, what class have we not talked about much? Paladin. Yeah, we haven't even talked about Paladin. So have you seen Murloc Paladins? I didn't run into a single one.
But
really?
It felt so much weaker than even Paladin.
Well,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Well,
like
yeah.
then they do Call to Arms on 5, get like Righteous Protector. I don't know. Didn't feel as powerful.
Cold Armor at 5 is much bigger, I think, than everybody.
Oh, but Spiteful the same. It felt much more killable. Like the Spiteful is way slow. It feels way slower for 7 mana.
Spiteful just falls behind, right? Spiteful always falls behind leading into the Spiteful turn, and then I mean, if it's ahead, you're just dead. Like you're dead if it's ahead going into the like turn 6 or turn 7 or turn 6.
I don't think they have any good playable 6-drop. They all go like opt for the commander, and it's like a vanilla card.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just six drops are tough. I mean, they have a Spreading Plague, but it's just not what that deck does.
Yeah.
You can play Karen again. Good old Karen.
Yeah,
it's always there, Karen. Baby. Like actually, the tempo deck played. Or sorry, yeah, the tempo Druid played Karen too. That was the part that I loved about it the most.
Good old Karen.
It's always there. Always good value, man. Even in 2018. But yeah, anyways, guys, try it out.
Another thing we haven't talked about is actually it's so funny. Besides Paladin is Warlock.
Like, Warlock. Yeah. The 2 best classes we didn't talk anything about.
Like I played a bunch of Control Lock. It's just like, it doesn't feel, because you have to play Skull now because like he sucks. But your main win condition is Rin, and Rin and Skull, they really just don't feel great together. It's like it feels awkward to play the deck. Well, I mean, it just doesn't feel as powerful.
What if you just like really think outside the box and do something completely different? Like, just throw stuff out, Disco Lock, or can you imagine somebody pulls out like Quest Lock or something? It's time, boys. It's time.
2 times Zoo today.
Zoo's not good though. Like
I don't know.
I've tried Zoo.
They had Godfrey in Zoo, and I lost with Fanta, and I was like so confused.
Godfrey in Zoo, I kill my own stuff. Like what the hell is that good for?
It had like double Flame Imp into double Glacial Shards, and then it curved out into freaking Godfrey, and I was like confused. And
that's 6 damage.
But it was high legend. like
oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's 6 damage to my face, and then on top of that, I clear my own board. That does not sound like the funnest thing in the world there, but. There's still, again, we did mention that I still think there is possibilities for Warlock. And if it's not this expansion, it'll be next expansion, but they still have cubing.
Poor Warlocks, man. Make Warlock great again.
That's how fast things can change. You know, like I mentioned in previous episodes that they fixed, or they didn't fix Warlock, but they made Warlock relevant in one expansion. You know, like literally the span of Kobolds and Catacombs, they made Warlock go from like a tier 4 type of, you know, it's tier 4 decks, zoo decks, right, at the time, into the best deck in the whole game. So, that's how fast they can take it away too. They can give it then take it away. Like,
I would say that one change actually did the most impact, right? Even Paladin was the most played deck.
Yeah.
And just nerfing Call to Arms and making even Paladin completely unplayable. I mean, you forced to the best or the most played deck to be unplayable. So the meta has to change. It has to change.
Well, that's not true. You could have just removed even Paladin and like have Q block and control lock still be, or Q block mostly, still be super good. It would still look pretty similar. We'd have something just replace even Paladin in that role a little bit. You know, like it's going to be a little bit weaker, but something would fill that role. Like just even Shaman would fill that role probably. So I don't think it's just that. It's also
mainly. I would say mostly because that was the most popular deck, and they really obliterated it.
Well, they obliterated the Q block too. The Q block's been hurt too. I think the Q block will probably come back in a, you know, just a maybe 2 or 3 cards different, or 3, something like that.
Maybe they really wanted to test, okay, what happens if you just nerf all the best decks? What happens next? Like, how does the meta look? They really never have done that, I think. Like, when Razakus Priest was broken, it was still, like, broken for, like, such a long time. They always, like, Jade Druid or something like that. They nerfed stuff very slowly.
Yeah.
And we always had, like, a clear best deck.
Yeah.
After nerfs.
The big question will be, one of the main focuses of making these changes was to get more Witchwood cards in the meta, you know, like to have that be played. Now the question is whether that's actually happened or not. I think slightly more are being played, but I wouldn't say it's significantly huge. But you know, maybe like 5% or something like that. I mean, I think that's maybe good enough in their eyes. But you know, like look at these top decks, right? Like we still see a ton of, you know, Frozen Throne and Goro and Kobolds and Catacombs. I mean, they're still all over the place.
Yeah,
like
the funniest part was that we played so few Witchwood cards. Like Priest had like the Scale Worm, and then people ended up cutting even that.
Well, yeah.
It's like going back. Let's not play.
I mean, people were considering whether to play Godfrey or not. I mean, that's I mean, that's how much stuff that how much great cards these classes have. All right, but anyways, let's move on. And before we do, I want to give a shout out to just all the folks that support our show. That, of course, are the patrons that donate to us on patreon.com/valuetown. And if you want to support the show, definitely go there. You know, you can see the link right up there. And, you know, you can pledge anything you want there. Patreon's a great service. They're, you know, we've been working with them, or we've had our account there for a long time. It's been great. And, you know, we've had a lot of cool things that we were doing around it, like Deck of the Week, which we end up doing a show on Monday, like a real audio only show where we talk about the Deck of the Week that we announce either during the show or after the show. I usually do one or the other. So, yeah, it's a great way to help us continue doing this. And, you know, want to thank our legendary producer, Mike T, of course, and some other patrons: Raydan, Bob K, Bryce L, Eric L, Jackpot 777, Feldy Locks, Old Man Riv, Johnson C, Michael V, Zach M, Evie, and Nicholas H. Thank you so much, guys. You guys rock. And hopefully we will see some more of you guys that are watching, you know, join the patron crew there. But next up, we've got some events to talk about. Obviously, tours and the Dreamhack Tours. And then we had actually the third region for HCT complete, the APAC region, to finish the, I guess, the player roster that's going to be going to the championships here next month. But tours, let's just, I guess, talk about, we talked a little bit about tours, but I definitely, Old Guardian, of course, did his summary of tours, which he's just does an awesome job. He did a summary of both events, which is pretty crazy, given that both events happened at the same time, and the depth of which he, you know, does this analysis. It's like, kudos to him, man. Like, it's like I don't know if I could catch up as much as I do without his articles. So, a real big props out to Elwood Guardian. Hopefully one of these days we'll have him on the show too. But you can see that Maverick won, Scruffy number 2, and a bunch of other names. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you haven't seen these guys, most of the people, but you've seen Tyler. Tyler finished top 32. Orange did too.
Yeah, Casey.
Oh, Casey's up here too. Yeah, top 16.
Yeah. Fino, of course.
Yep.
Number 1 point leader.
Yep. Yeah, Fino. He's on F2K, right? Fino.
Yeah, it's actually crazy because Fino, Jala and Fino are first and second, and they both made it into top 16.
Yeah, Jala.
And if Jala would have gotten one more win, he would have surpassed Fino in points.
Wow, that's crazy.
And they're like both fighting against each other in top 16.
There's a lot of great players right now. I mean, that's why I feel like there's opportunities for Hearthstone teams to start or to pick up some players, because we still have more players in the pool, like skilled players that can win, like players could win it all, to be honest, that are still available than we do teams. So, in an environment like that, you'd think you have a very, bullish market for the teams, and I think we might see some new names in here really, really soon. But overall, anything surprised you about it? I mean, Gold Guardians even has the lineups here. Let me see. I think this is the link here that shows even, just what the lineups were, kind of how they did.
Yeah, the final lineup was very surprising.
Yeah, the Maverick one.
Both of the players. There was Controller and I think Scruffy had like Shaman. Like, people looked at it because this was before nerfs. Mm-hmm. Like, even Shaman is like okay, but nowhere near close even Paladin.
Yeah.
And not one of the best decks. So people were like surprised how well he did with that deck.
Yeah. I think that
now you wouldn't be surprised before nerfs.
Even Deadman's he was like the only one, right? So it was. I mean, that's generally what happens, right? I think the previous tournament didn't just the best deck. I think best decks was the best strategy, right? This clearly wasn't that. It was almost that.
Interesting was also that a lot of people brought the same lineup in LHS as in Conquest. A lot of people brought the exact same decks that they brought to playoffs, even though it's LHS and not Conquest.
Oh, really?
That's me. Like,
that's weird. Those are completely different things. Like,
yes,
makes no sense. I guess best decks can be decent in both, but it's still better in one than the other.
Yeah, it's
still better in Conquest, right? So
definitely. It's like because it's so scary, because all the best decks, they can all sweep you in LHS.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of wanted to bring like a bunch of good decks just that have a good chance to beat all these best decks, because they were like so polarized. Like Q-Block is so different than even Paladin, and they both could sweep you potentially, and you can only ban one.
Wait. So are you saying best deck's better in Last Hero Standing than it is in Conquest?
I mean, they're scarier in LHS,
really?
But probably better in Conquest. Because, for example, in Q-Block,
if it's scary, it's good. What do you mean?
I mean, in Conquest you lose once to it. You can't expect to lose to a deck once, but in LHS you can just always get. For example, nobody banned Warlock because you can't really afford to ban. Most people ban Paladin because Paladin can just 3-0 you.
Mm-hmm.
But Q-Block can also 3-0 you, but you can only ban one, and targeting one is so hard. So it's weird, right? It's scary. This is why I use the word scary.
Yeah.
you kind of bring decks that can beat it, but it's scary.
Right.
In Conquest, it's much easier to target. Everyone says it's much easier. You pick one deck that almost everyone will bring, and then you focus your lineup on targeting one deck. You can't do that in LHS.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's true.
So, what is then the better format? Like, it's so funny. People have very split decision opinions.
Which ones are better? What format's better? Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't think there's necessarily a better format. I think it's just when you play the same format over and over and over again, it just gets boring. Like it's good to switch it up. It's good to have like this tournament be a LHS and the other one be Conquest, and have that kind of variety. I still wish that we would have either like different seasons. Like maybe it's an entire season. Like I never really thought about this until I just like literally said it. Maybe it's like an entire season that's either one or the other. Like so one, spring season is Conquest, summer season is LHS, or if it's not that, then I'd at least like to see some like the majors, some of the very big majors be kind of different that way too. Because I don't think it delegitimizes anything if you change the format for a different tournament. It's like creating a different environment for each of them. I think that's fine. Like, I think it would be crazier if you changed the actual like wild to standard type of thing. But I think if you just changed, how, you won the tournament in terms of like lineups and just that form of the format. I don't think it's as big a deal. And I think it does create these different, different elements. There's different strategies to it. It creates another, complexity to it prior to the actual tournament and gameplay. And I think that's good. That's only good for any of these tournaments. Right now, it's just always Conquest. It's either always Conquest or it's always Last Hero Standing for HCT. And after a while, it just gets boring, right? Like it's like you don't even, picking lineups and stuff. Like I don't even, some of us, or at least a lot of the community, doesn't even bother paying attention to, what strategies people are using going into it. It's kind of interesting, I guess, afterwards looking at it, and how they did. We, of course, on this show do it, because we're obviously more competitive focused, but I can just see a casual person not really caring at all, because there's not that big of an element that's very, easy to convey or easy to talk about, and just, strategy involved with that. So I think if you made the format itself a big part of what was unique about the event, then there's more to talk about there. There's more to even market in terms of like the event itself too. And then maybe like you can like go up to the casual Hearthstone person. It's like, hey, there is a difference between these tournaments. Like this one is like, I always make the example of tennis just because I used to play tennis. It's like this is like playing on grass. This is like playing on clay. This is like playing on the hard court. And it all feeds into the same, tennis playoffs at the end, or it all feeds into the greatness, how many Grand Slams you have, and whatever that metric is, it still feeds into the same thing. So it's just more storyline to talk about, during the season.
It's actually kind of surprising, right? I think the only tournaments where we talk about like strategies of players is like Trinity series or something like that, where people bring like 9 different classes and there's like a lot of bans involved, and you ban, and then it's like a whole process, the banning, because they go so much into these strategies. Nobody brings a random strategy. And like when you go on stream, usually you just enter the middle of a game, bans already happened, and then you see like, let's say Merrick playing Queststroke against player playing even Shaman, whatever. But there's like so much before that happens, like,
Yeah. And I mean, before the stuff, I think that's one of the things that can be improved in Hearthstone. It's just like everything that happens before the games are played. And the strategy, I think, is one thing. Even if there's a lot of prep that's involved from the player standpoint, I still feel like you can make it in a way that's more accessible just to the audience. Like, maybe set up their lineups, say that they put a lot of time and work into it, but then explain what their lineup is and what it's weak against. Like if I look at these lineup choices, right, that Old Guardian has here, it'd be cool if it said that, like, what the weaknesses were, so that you could kind of understand that what happened.
I also feel like the casters don't really care about learning.
Yeah, I mean, even if they did, there's nothing visually to help us with it. Like, the casters could say, "Oh, he banned that because of this and this and this," but it's still not visual. Like we need some kind of visual or more visual indicators to like help folks understand like what the strategy is. Because we just know they brought 4 decks, and then we just see 3 decks, and then that's that's the extent of it. So they could do some kind of cool stuff. Explain it a bit more, like these 4 things were built so that he was expecting some kind of ban on, I don't know, Paladin, right? And so he'd still be left with this, and this.
Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
like even like a very general thing. Like he was targeting control with this lineup. This
Yeah.
is why he banned this deck. Just very simple, and
Yeah.
and his opponent is bringing only aggressive decks, so his lineup is probably unfavored against. And let's see how he will do against this.
Yeah, I mean, it's even something that I felt that even Dota could do. Like when they were doing the ban phases, and I think the casters do a little bit better of a job just because it's just set up better. Like they're picking one at a time. They're drafting, right? And you can commentate during that. Versus this is just like, hey, we start, and there's three decks and you're seeing one of them right now. So even that I feel like visually could have been cooler. You could see actually what are counters to these, because they always talk about counters, right? Like you could have some kind of graphic that showed counters to whatever hero that they're talking about.
But they can use HSReplay.net and show like the percentages, like Q-Block versus Questrook, and like
right. That's right.
Like visuals, like he's unfavored in this
matchup. That would be amazing.
Wow, he won a very unfavorable matchup.
That's right.
He's very good.
Well, I mean, it builds a storyline, right? It's like, okay, he's an underdog in this matchup. You've seen it. You kind of know it now. So whenever you see him win, you're just like, oh, wow. Like he actually upset him there, right? So he's ahead generally in the series because he pulled that out. Right now, the casters do say these kind of things, but it's just not enough. Like I don't think it's enough to really feel that, okay, when I see a 1-0, it's actually more than 1-0. It's like, way more than that, because he won a game that he wasn't supposed to win, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think that would be nice. But anyways, this is, kind of like the tours, how the tours ended up. And, definitely you can check out Old Guardian's article on his website there. He's also got one for the APAC tournament, which we can talk about too. And when I looked at the APAC tournament, I didn't recognize any of the names, man. So congrats to Glory, Blood. Is it Blood Trail? It's Blood Trail, right? Yeah, I think it's Blood Trail, Jinsu, and Tansoku. But a lot of people are missing from here. I definitely saw Surrender, like, on broadcast and some of the big names that we're used to in APAC, but we didn't actually see any of the Korean players that we're normally seeing in these tournaments. So I don't know. That just means that it's pretty deep, clearly, and this is just like a new set of players. Did you get a chance to watch any of it or no? Like
unfortunately not. I would have liked to, but it was impossible.
Yeah. I got a chance to watch a little bit of it. Both DreamHack and APAC was going on at the same time, so it was tough. But the biggest thing, if you guys remember from last week, was that there were a lot of even Paladins in this one. There were like 69 of them, I believe. Yeah, if we have the breakdown here, it was like 68 even Paladins, which was like way more than everybody, all the other regions. It just continually went up. And I think even Paladin didn't perform very well. Yeah, 47% match win rate. So, wait, is that right? I think so. Yeah, I think that's right. Oh, it got banned a ton. It only got played like 19 times.
What?
Yeah,
I mean, then you can see. I mean, the people that don't ban it, they were countering it, and considering that, this is why you have to look at like the context. It definitely matters. So even though it was like targeted when it got played, it still had 47% win rate. So that's actually then insane.
Yeah.
Because it was banned all the other times.
Yeah.
That's an insane rate.
That's crazy. That means it was banned like 3/4 of the time. That's nuts.
And when it wasn't banned, it was targeted, and it still has 50% win rate.
I know.
That's like, that's what I was talking about. It's almost everyone banned it also in tours. It's just so hard to target it. It's very difficult.
I mean, it looks like, everything seemed to be pretty close to 50%. Actually, Odd Rogue performed really bad. Look at that. And looks like Control Warlock did pretty well. That's probably why Odd Rogue did so bad. And then Control Warlock was sitting pretty well here.
Yeah, because it's the only deck that is actually really favored against even Paladin.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, pretty interesting. I wonder how the
Tempo Mage
playoffs are
did
going to
really
be.
bad again, right?
Yep. Tempo Mage was horrible. Just Mage was
And it
just
was
generally
it
bad.
did but like bad at every single
Yeah.
playoffs,
Dr.
and
J. Poor
there
Dr.
it did
J.
the worse.
Yeah. So definitely not a good deck to bring. Unfortunately, these lists will this whole trend and list will be completely non-relevant
Irrelevant.
to irrelevant to the playoff or the championship decks that are going to be coming out. But we're going to see all kinds of crazy stuff. Definitely won't be seeing even Paladin. So that trend is not going to be completely gone. Might see a bit more of this. Even Shaman, which actually got played quite a bit too. Even Shaman. Wait. Oh, even Shaman did well because of whoever was playing it played a bunch of times, I think. There's 12 of them. So that's not very many. Why do we have bans and conquests? Other bans were there for last year standing. I mean, the bans are there just so it's, you kind of avoid this type of rock, paper, scissors kind of thing, right? Like if you can, you add an element of strategy or game theory to it. So I think it does apply a bit more. I can see it applying a bit more to last year standing and making sense that way, but I definitely like the bans. It's a good thing.
No ban tournaments are absolute worst.
Yeah, they're terrible. Definitely bad. Okay, well that definitely is going to be the end of the the HCT, and at least for the 3 regions, and then I think the finals are, what is it, third week of June or last week of June? I forget what the date is on it. It might be the 20 something, but they have a few weeks. It's not like anytime soon. It's going to be in LA, so
now every weekend is something. Like we start with Titanat this weekend, and the next weekend is Dreamhack Austin.
Yeah.
And I know that very soon, in the middle of June, we have Dreamhack Summer.
Yeah.
And somewhere, and then around that corner, we have
crazy,
the finals of the first playoffs.
Yeah, the players are traveling like nuts right now.
And there's Korea. HCT stopped Korea, so also happening.
Is it? Okay.
2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
I know that Mazi is not going home for 3 months, he said.
Oh my gosh. Seriously?
Yeah.
That's rough, man. That's crazy. Yeah, I think I messaged RDU, and RDU's been traveling for 30 hours like the last 2 days. It's crazy. What'd you say?
Yeah, and then like Seed Story Cup is also, it's like back to back to back to back.
Like that, right? So somewhere in there, yeah. Summer's always busy though. Summer's never been.
Maybe that's like too much for the community, just too many tournaments. If you think about it, like what we focus on, this every weekend is like, and then you're like, is this tournament more important? If you're like a little bit of a casual, you're not competing yourself, then like, how important is this tournament? How important is this tournament? Like, does it now matter that you want this tournament? I don't know.
Well, it matters because we want points, right? It's just, it's pretty brutal to do it. It's and you can make an argument it's just too much content for even the community, right? Just like tournaments every single weekend. I don't know. Maybe if it's different faces every weekend. There's obviously a negative to that too. So it's still not right. Yeah, it's going to be hard to get it there. But I can't really say it's a bad thing for players. I mean, players are getting the opportunity to go to events if they are paid, obviously, like if they're on a team and they're paying for it, they get a chance to make some money and get some points, towards the HTT in the end. So I think for the players, it's a good thing. I just don't know if for general viewership, it's great,
But then again, like if you think about it, the prize pools are extremely small, and like these tournaments are very spread around the world, right? Like most of these players are going to Korea, and you still play like for 3K or 5K first place. I don't know if it is that great, you know what I mean? It's obviously great to have like a lot of tournaments, but maybe it's better to have like fewer and then bigger ones instead.
Well, then you make the argument that you can't support as many people, though, right? If it's bigger, yeah. I mean, right now I think we have more tournaments, and I think we are probably paying out more than if we had just a few big ones.
Yeah, I'm
And
just not sure
yeah.
what would actually be
Yeah.
better. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I
overall,
couldn't
we
go.
should just increase the prize pool of those small ones. That would be great, right? That
Yeah.
would fix everything. But it doesn't. I mean, I'm sure they're trying their best to get the prize pool as big as possible. I'm not sure that's the issue there. Okay, why don't we do some Q&A? So Ahmad N has a good question, and God, I was meaning to actually look through the catalog some, but I didn't get a chance to. His question is basically, what card, if you increased the mana cost of it, would actually be better? So example would be, actually his examples are Geosculptor Yep can be stronger if it became a 9, maybe because it can be included in Baku, and then Shudderwalk would make it even Shaman even stronger at 10, and then Terran would make Odd Paladin king of the meta
Wait,
at
Shadowwalk
7.
would be better at 10? No.
Well, it could be played on even Shaman, I think his point,
Oh.
which he's right. I mean, I think you
Yeah, but you wouldn't play it. I don't think it's good in even Shaman.
what
Yeah, but
I
for
mean,
example,
Serenite's
yeah,
there, and
Void Lord would be nuts for 10 because you can play it in even Warlock, and even Warlock is already pretty damn good. And even Lackey is now 6. So you could
yeah,
literally play everything in even Warlock then. That's the only card you're missing right now is Void Lord.
Lackey. Oh my god, yeah, that
Yeah,
would be pretty
you can play
sick.
Lackey now in even Warlock with no demons.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you had Void Lord for 10,
I think, yeah, I think that's good too. I think that let me think. I feel like any of the powerful 3 drops for, oh, I don't know. You lose value if you raise the
I mean, you buff indirectly Spiteful Summoner probably, right? I don't know. If some cards are suddenly 10, like Ysera, if Ysera would be 10 mana, and then you
Yeah.
get like 10 mana card, and then you get Ysera.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
indirect buff.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. Actually, I'm kind of having a hard time thinking of some, because you're having to give up value, right? You give up. You're making it more expensive, so it has to make
Yeah.
up for that fact, you know, by being included in these even paladins. Because I don't think there's any case where just increasing the mana cost makes it better. Like, I don't think
Yeah, it
there's
has to
anything like
be
that.
something like
Yeah,
that.
it has to be like a. Is there an opposite one, like an even one going to odd? I mean, clearly, Call to Arms wasn't that. I think his example of Terran might be a decent one. It would still be balanced, but it would just make Odd Paladin even better, which it would. It would definitely would make it even better.
Even better. But
But
in general, you want lower mana cost, not higher mana cost.
thanks, man. Thanks for
It's like,
explaining that. I really appreciate that.
I don't know, for the
I'm
people
sure the audience
listening,
like didn't know that
it's
either.
like, team,
No, but
listen,
it's the only.
lower mana
I mean,
cost.
that question wouldn't even be valid unless we did have this even odd thing. So, I think
Mana
that's
cheat gone wrong.
yeah. I think maybe a more interesting question, or not more interesting, but just another interesting question would be just which cards are still good when they cost a mana more.
It's better for Holy Wrath Paladin. Make Mountain Giant 1 more mana.
Okay.
You deal 1 more damage.
Yeah. Okay. That could be something there.
Easy.
Dude, I had a few people, you know, since the nerf. We haven't even talked about the Naga Sea Witch one. I've heard Naga Sea Witch isn't anywhere now in Wild. Like, nobody plays it right now. I didn't actually run the stats on. I should have ran the stats just to see, but probably run something a little later this week, just on comparison of how much these cards are still being played. It feels like, at least right now, barely any of them are being played. At least at a very good deck right now, or winning deck. Okay, well, any other questions? Just let us know. Like, maybe in Twitch chat or something that you can ask us. But I think that's pretty much all we got, like, today. If you guys want to ask any questions, like I said, we were going to take a few more questions today, just because we were you know, on the lighter side with topics. Just there wasn't as much. There's obviously the meta and then the 2 events, but Not too much else going on in Hearthstone right now, right?
Yeah, just a bunch of tournaments, pretty much. And like people were waiting for the balance patch to come out, so a lot of people were like chilling for the past week. But next week should be more exciting for sure.
Yeah.
Like when we have like a more refined meta.
Did you play the 2-card brawl at all? Like it's not new. It's like something that's been the 2-card
No,
meta.
but I looked at it. It's kind of silly.
Yeah. I ended up pulling some stats on which were the best pairs. What do you think it was? Did you see that post I posted on HSReplay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. There's a lot of really good ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a metagame to it too. It's funny, like obviously it starts out with just the mage stuff, right? With mana worms and just spells, whatever spells that you want to do. And then people counter with like Duskbreaker and that kills all the mana worms. And Mind Blast and stuff like that. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think it's great. I mean, I like those Tavern Balls a lot because it's like it's a very simple sandbox, right? To show metagame. And when you only have 2 cards, right? It's very simple. There's like not very many dynamics or things you can change. So I think it's a good way to, especially somebody that's first starting, to really explain, how meta works and everything. Sinister Strike Abyss, right? You'd be surprised. One of the things that worked the best was, God, what was the one of the heals? Branching Path and something else. I can't remember. Branching Path is something else, because Branching Path can either heal or draw cards. Like you can just sit there and do that like all day. I can't remember which one it was though. Okay, well, anyways, if there are no questions, then Spellstone 6 mana and Hunter for even Hunter. Ooh. Yeah. I think that'd still be pretty good. I think Spellstone at 6 is still a good card. Would you use it?
It's just that Hunter's good 6 drops already. It kind of sucks.
Well,
Hunter doesn't have good 5 drops.
Yeah, but if you're playing even.
Yeah. Yeah, you have your Hymens, classic Hymens. Playing Hymens and Spellstones for 6. It's a bit weird.
Is it
So
to my side? Is to my side 6 too? Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To my side. Yeah, there's a lot of good 6.
And Rek'Sai is on 6 as well.
Oh, right.
So it will probably be worse. For sure. I don't think you would play it. You need good 5 drops, and Spellstone is...
That's pretty crazy if you wouldn't play that. That's such a crazy card.
Because... Would you cut Hyman for it?
Depends on what I'm playing against. If playing against Shaman, I would consider
Who
it.
plays even Hunter? I mean, come on, bro.
That's true.
Come on, bro.
That's a good point. You'd have to turn a lot of 3 drops.
We're talking about if you're cutting Hyman over 6 mana Spellstone in freaking even Hunter.
What's a 2-drop even for Hunter right now? It's like there's not even any good 2-drops. So,
Doomsayer.
Yeah, Doomsayer and Vicious Scaleeye, right? That's about it. All right. Well, anyways, let's wrap up then. And Gaara, you want to do some shout outs before we take off?
Shout out to my stream, twitch.tv/GaaraBasham. I stream every single day. It's a lot of fun. I'm playing a lot of Shadowwalk Shaman and Togwalker Warlock and all these cool decks, and still trying to go for high ranks at the same time.
Yeah.
Shout out to my Instagram. I started doing that. So whenever I go to events, I will post a bunch of stuff there, like
That's
behind
cool.
the scenes. Like you can see how do you make coffee and what kind of food we eat and what we visit, all the players. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, shout out to the viewers. I love you all. You make this show possible. And yeah, that's it.
All right, cool. And I'll thank everybody too. Thanks for thanks for watching, and Gaara, thanks for doing the show today. Of course, you can find our show on all the audio channels too, like iTunes and Google Play and SoundCloud.com/ChanManV. So look for us there if you want to listen to us on the way to work, or if you're working out and things like that. It's a good way to do that. And if you like us, leave a review for us, because that's a good way for folks to find Valuetown if they're looking for a good Hearthstone podcast. You can find the VODs on youtube.com/ChanManV if you miss any of this. And of course, again, Valuetown is a HSReplay.net show. So go to HSReplay.net if you want to find the best stats in Hearthstone and want to figure out what you should be playing, what the meta looks like, and figure out, as you can even track your own stats by downloading a Hearthstone deck tracker too. So do all that stuff. Lots of cool things coming soon. And I think that's going to be it, guys, for the show today. So for Gaara and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.
Peace.